right, welcome to another episode of The Brothers of Metal. I'm Michael. No. Come in.
Yeah, it's George. Come on up. Ah, there he is.
Hey, bro.
Yeah.
Talking about the new threshold?
What else?
Oh, can I join?
Get on in here.
Alright. Yeah.
There's a little subtle hint there. We'll be talking about the new new Threshold album called Dividing Lines. And yeah, we've been excited about this album for quite a while. This is our first in-person Brothers of Metal as well. John is visiting from out of state, so we get to do a video in person. But yeah, so we were huge fans of their previous record, Legend of the Shires, or Legends of the Shires, and we were really pumped for this one. And it's been a long time coming. I think this is probably one of the longest gaps of their career. It's been about 5 years in between albums. So the last album was so good that I think they needed a extended break, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and then you were mentioning that Richard West was working on a follow-up to Legends of the Shires.
Yes,
Maybe
yeah.
that took up some of his time. And
Probably,
then
I would.
still had time to write this new record.
Yep.
So,
Pretty unbelievable songwriter.
but yeah, this new record's called Dividing Lines. It is the band's 12th studio album. It is their third with Glenn Morgan on vocals.
Yep.
Second album since his return in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And the band claims that this record is basically compared to Legends of the Shires. This is a darker, moodier, older brother of the two.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd say that's definitely the vibe I get from this record.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got the lineup here on this record. We got Glenn Morgan on vocals. It's the same lineup as the last record, but we got Carl Groom on guitars, Richard West on keyboards, Steve Anderson on bass, and Johan James on drums, or Johan James on drums.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're not familiar with this band, just a couple notes here. Formed in 1988, so they've been in the business a very long time already. That first record dropped in 1993 called Wounded Land. So we're looking at almost 40 years since the first album, which is amazing.
Crazy.
Is that right? No, 30 years. 30 years since the
88, you said?
Well, since 93. 30 years almost since the
about
first
30
record
years.
dropped.
Yep.
And we're trying to describe their sound if you're unfamiliar with them, but I mean, really, they get labeled as progressive metal, but if you're going into this thinking Dream Theater, I don't think that's what you're going to find.
Yeah, it's not quite Dream Theater. They're more, I guess you could say, song oriented. There's almost like a pop element. So their songs are really, really grabby and catchy, punchy sounding. They're closer to a Fates Warning than they would be Dream Theater, but they're poppier than Fates Warning. So
yeah, it's like a prog metal meets AOR kind of.
I think that's fair.
sound.
I think that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, Legends of the Shires was a monster release, 2 discs really worth of material. It's a very long album, but that was the one that really grabbed us. So we can't pretend to be longtime Threshold fans.
True.
So we're a little bit new to the party here, but Legends made such an impression on us that we couldn't wait for this new record. So
Yep. Yeah,
so we have to
that's definitely like you're saying, that's the album that made me a fan. I think I listened briefly to is it For the Journey, I think was the album before Legend of the Shires. I was kind of trying to get into Damian Wilson, and I wasn't a huge fan of his initially, so I kind of gave that album one listen and kind of dismissed it. And then when I saw that the Legend of the Shires was coming out and they released a new single, Small Dark Lines, I think was the song.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know they had a new singer. And as soon as I heard that single, I was like, oh man, this guy is amazing. I had never heard of him before. I don't know how much work he did in between his stints with Threshold, but I couldn't really find much. But he kind of reminded me of Roy Khan, talking about Glenn Morgan. And just a phenomenal singer. And I ended up becoming a big fan of Damian Wilson as well. and really diving into the March of Progress, I think was the record,
Yep.
his return record, and I ended up really loving that record. But I honestly felt that Glenn's voice fit the material of Legend of the Shires a little more. So maybe that's how they felt as well. So I'm really fond of the Damian Wilson stuff, but basically a fan from March of Progress onward. I'm not a huge fan of their previous stuff, or I didn't really dive into their earlier work, but Legend of the Shires I put in my top 10 Desert Island albums. It's one of the best progressive metal albums I've ever heard. I'm really glad they're doing, or at least Richard West is doing a follow-up. So I'm really excited for that. So this record I would put on the level of March of Progress, and I gotta get the exact name. Is it For the Journey? Of the Journey? Look that up for me. Anyway, I would put it on that level. It's a phenomenal record. It was really, I knew it was going to be almost impossible to follow up Legend of the Shires, but I think this is an extremely strong record, start to finish. All the songs are really solid, but you know, it's hard if you're comparing it to, I think their best work. I would say it falls short of that, but it's definitely in my top 5 of the year. I love the record. I think we'll talk about a few songs, but if you're a progressive metal fan, they're a little bit different than, like we said, a lot of progressive metal fans. They're not like Symphony X, quite, they're not that heavy. They're not as technical as a Dream Theater. They're kind of in the middle, and that Fate's Warning sound, but they have more pop elements. If you're a fan of that type of music, maybe more of a Evergrey, but maybe a little beyond them, progressive wise or technicality wise.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, there's still the kind of that signature, the time signature changes, key changes, really strong dynamics, and I know one thing that a lot of people have said is that just sonically, like the clarity of the recording, the production value is.
And that was key. Once they kind of
notch.
moved over to Nuclear Blast, and their sound just got so much, like you said, so much more clarity in their sound. The production value, had a big uptick, and that's what drew me in initially. Is the band sounded so good. The music sounded so good.
Yeah,
Reminds
everything
me,
cuts through.
a little bit like newer Circus Maximus. If you're a fan, that band, that's just I love the production. It just seems like a ton of money went into the record. It may not be the case, but it just sounds like as good as any super commercial band, and they just sound awesome.
So let's dive into a couple songs that are our favorites, huh?
Yep. So definitely love the first single, Silenced. As soon as we heard it, really, that's an amazing single.
It's gonna be a good one.
Such a good groove to it. I love Johan's, or Johan. I don't know. Johan James. You might know him. He's actually a singer. He has his own band, and he sang on the latest Arion album. But phenomenal drummer.
Oh, that's right.
And I mean, you're not gonna find a drummer who plays with more feel and groove than this guy. And really hear it on this song. More of a straightforward riff on this one, but you could also hear like a clear melody line, guitar line behind the main riff. Like we said, everything just shines through. Everyone kind of stars on this record. The bass maybe has a little more of a presence on this album. That's why maybe it sounds a little heavier, or it could be the subject matter, but definitely a heavier record. This song, we like the message of the song, kind of perfect for the times with what's going on. The threat to free speech, especially in America, but in the UK as well. And the music video was awesome. So yeah, it's one of my favorites on the record. Great chorus. Anything you want to add to that one, John?
No, I mean the single hooked me from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was excited because you never know what direction a band's going to go in, and this seemed like a perfect kind of jumping off point from Legends of the Shires, and I kind of figured we would get a very similar record, but I'm okay with that because I love that record so much. So, one of the highlights for me was definitely Hall of Echoes.
Okay.
I thought the lyrics were so creative and so clever. I like how it, it's it's heavy, but just I think it's just that interesting wordplay and the way it kind of just.
I don't think
meshes
anyone's
with the-
better at wordplay and just clever. I mean, Richard West, I think, writes most of the lyrics. He's just such a clever lyricist.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's deep meaning behind the lyrics. And you sometimes I'll read a line. I'm just like, how did he come up with that? Just really, really clever.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just that blend from the verse into the pre-chorus and that build into the chorus. It's just amazing, and it's what they do best for sure.
Definitely. And then another one. I mean, I really love the 3 singles they released. They were, it's kind of hard to beat. Might be the top 3 songs for me.
One sounds as good as the next. You know that something's going on, but it's so complex.
The guitar riff was more driving on this one. Like I said before, I love how they layer the guitars. I like that I could hear all the layers. More dazzling keyboard work on this one. I like that. No one is too much in the forefront. Sometimes the keyboards really drive a section of the song. Sometimes the guitars do. I could hear the bass plenty. But I love the chemistry between Carl and Richard. You could tell these guys have been working together for a long time, and they feed off each other very well. And Glenn is just, I think he's taken his voice to another level on this record. As much as I love Legend of the Shires, I think he's added more tricks to the trade, and sounds awesome. And I like the lyrical concept behind this. I think they said that this was more of a sequel to a previous song they had written.
Yeah.
But to me, it seems to fit the times. The message I got is about kind of corporate media and the government controlling the flow of information, and people not knowing what the truth is and having a hard time perceiving it, and kind of being told that whatever you're seeing is not actually the truth. And that's kind of the message I got from it. That may not be what they're trying to convey, but I felt like it really fit the times.
Yeah,
and it's
the
just
idea that it's not true unless you hear it from us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, another just crazy catchy chorus, and just a terrific song.
So I think my favorite on the album is King of Nothing. So this is a songwriting wise, it's attributed to Glenn.
Yep.
And I think anywhere on this record where you see he has a writing credit, I feel like his vocal melody is just that much stronger.
I agree. Yeah.
And what's really cool about this one is, at least what I got from it, I noticed right away that 6/8 groove. I love songs in 6/8. It just has that really nice swing to it, but then there's also kind of they do kind of more of a straight feel to it as well at times. But I just love the way it just the way it feels, and just so emotive coming from Glenn on this one.
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely probably the highlight on the record for me.
I would agree. It's certainly in my top 3, and it might be my favorite song on the record. I think Glenn's contributions on this one were key, because I think it provided even more diversity on the record. You could kind of tell that it was a little bit different stylistically, and like you said, John, that he was more expressive it seemed like on the songs that he wrote. It kind of reminds me of when you could tell on a Dream Theater album when James LaBrie wrote the lyrics. There's just something a little bit different style-wise, and I thought it was a great addition. I love the keyboard line. You were trying to play it as soon as you heard it on keyboards.
Yeah.
It's so catchy. It reminded me of like a Kevin Moore Images and Words or Awake era Dream Theater.
Yeah.
And it was so infectious.
Right.
And it's a perfect song. So couldn't agree more. So any final assessments of the record?
Not at this time. Other than that, I'm committed to continuing to give it a few more listens, and I just think overall what we want to get across here is that we couldn't recommend this record any more highly. It's definitely going to top our list for the year, and man, just so excited about this band. I mean, clearly, even though these guys are getting older, and this is 12 albums in, 30 plus years into their career.
Yep.
They are not only seem to be having a blast doing what they're doing, they're incredibly driven to continue to excel and to grow, and it's just cool because we don't see that all that often. We don't, you don't always see it with like filmmakers or musicians, folks that have been around and doing it a long time. A lot of folks peak early on.
Yep.
And then that's kind of that. And hey, we have a visitor. It reminds me a bit of like Scorsese, for instance.
Yeah.
Who after all these years can still, we got Raging Bull from 40 years ago, but could still do Wolf of Wall Street in 2013,
Yeah.
or could still do The Departed in the early 2000s. So
And continue to push the envelope creatively.
yeah, after all those years, and seems to be just at continuing to just deliver at their peak, and that's true for this band for sure. And I'd say whereas like some bands we're into that have been doing this a long time, we're a bit cautiously optimistic about new releases. With Threshold,
Yeah.
going to be more excited for future releases. So absolutely check this out if you're a fan of any of the bands we spoke about, but just quality melodic metal music in general.
Yep.
This is the band for you.
Yep, they're one of the best for sure. Yeah, so like I said before, this is kind of unique to this genre, especially the progressive genre, where 30 years in they could still be producing their best work. And I think sound-wise, they know how to create a better sound over time. I think that really helps. And then their songwriting they never seem to come out of or run out of great ideas.
Right.
And yeah, one of the best of their career. We love this band. We're hoping that they eventually come to the States and do a
That'd be
tour
awesome.
because we really want to see them.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely go check out Threshold, Dividing Lines. You won't regret it. So
Well, that's all for today on the Brothers of Metal.
Yep.
Stay tuned for more, everyone. Thanks for stopping by.
take care.